Have you seen him? Well?
Yes, monsieur. But he wasn't getting on the train.
No?
No. He arrived on the last train from Cherbourg. I noticed him because he appeared to be so nervous.
And what time was that?
11:40.
Jack Renner.
That story about the masked intruders, the ones who supposedly abducted Arnold Baroldi, it was all made up.
And this Madame Baroldi, it was her hands, was it not? They were not fastened together tightly?
That's right. That's what gave her away. Her lover, George Connor, didn't want to hurt her.
Ah, yes, it all comes back to me now. Madame Baroldi, she did not hang.
No, she...
Ready, Mr. Letts?
Run it.
Masked intruders
No, before the verdict was passed, she admitted her story was a lie, threw herself on the mercy of the jury. The real murderer was the partner, George Connor, she said. It was all his plan. He'd killed her husband and forced her to go along with him. Personally, I think there was more to it than that.
If you're pleased to tell me.
Well, he may have struck the blow, but she planned it.
And of course, it was Madame Baroldi who inherited from her husband the money from his coffee business.
Absolutely. She had nerves of steel, that woman. In a way, I think she was rather horrible.
And this George Connor, was he arrested?
No, that's him there.
But before the police can apprehend him, George Connor flees the country.
A face that is to me most familiar.
He managed to escape the country.
To South America?
Yes. The police never found him.
And what of Madame Baroldi?
The amazing thing is, she was acquitted. Well, it was quite a performance. That's her there with her daughter after the verdict. She left the country later on, changed her name.
Oui. To Madame Bernadette Dupre.
With the station master's evidence, my case is getting stronger by the minute.
So Jack Renner was lying when he said he was in Cherbourg the night his stepfather was killed. He was actually here in Deauville.
You better tell Poirot.
Oh, I expect he already knows.
You can wait here. I want another word with Madame Renner.
Right.
Martha, calm down. Calm down. It'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Why can't it be over, Jack? This whole horrible business.
It will be soon, darling.
And then, what about us?
You know what I want, Martha. I can't live without you.
It's another body.
The knife, Captain Hastings. Look at the knife.
Numéro 1, tout le monde descend. Terminus. Deauville, tout le monde descend.
Hastings, you've received my telegram? Bon.
Poirot!
I have succeeded, mon ami. I have succeeded to the marvel.
Poirot, I have to tell you, there's been another murder.
A second murder?
Committed with an identical knife.
Not an identical knife. The same knife that killed Paul Renault, which was stolen from this very office by the woman that Captain Hastings brought here. We
can't be sure of that, Monsieur Giraud.
The knife vanishes, the knife reappears. What more do you want?
It is a very serious business, Captain Hastings.
To bring a complete stranger into police headquarters and then to just leave her here. I can't believe the incompetence of it.
And you have not been able to find this young woman?
We're looking, but we only have her description to go on.
You wait until I get my hands on her.
You've no idea who she was?
No. We met on the beach. She didn't tell me her name.
She must have told you something.
No, not really.
And you believe this to be the same knife that killed Monsieur Poirot, no?
A paper knife with a stone set in the hilt, it certainly looks the same.
But why take it to... Doesn't make sense.
Bonjour, Dr. Hotel.
Well, the first thing that you ought to know is that this man was stabbed after he died.
What?
Look at the wound. The knife was lodged in his heart, but there's no blood.
Then what did he die of?
It's too soon to say, but I'd guess an epileptic fit.
But why stab a man who's already dead?
To create an impression, Hastings.
What impression?
The impression that he very nearly did create.
You've no idea who he is?
No identification, nothing.
Look at his hair. His fingernails. I'd have said he was a tramp.
And yet his clothes were those of a man well-to-do, n'est-ce pas? C'est curieux.
We found those in the shed. Some old clothes. They could be the tramps. Or...
The gardeners?
Do you think so?
Yes. What about the time of death?
No, he's been dead quite a while. Possibly 4 or 5 days.
And so, it would appear that the death of this man occurred before the death of Monsieur Paul Renaud.
You're just trying to confuse the issue, Poirot.
You do not find it to be confused, Monsieur Giraud?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, I'm ready to make an arrest.
You are?
It's that race this afternoon, isn't it? The Trophy de Deauville?
Yes.
What time's it expected to end?
4 o'clock.
We'll do it then. And what more suitable venue than the finishing line?
Right.
Bad luck, Poirot. But I told you, didn't I? You met the better man.
So you see, mon ami? It is what I found out in London. And that is the key to this mystery, most bizarre.
I just can't believe it, Poirot. 10 years ago, Jeanne Baroli is accused of murdering her husband, and now she's living here in Deauville under the name of...
Madame Dobray? Exactement.
Shouldn't you confront her or something?
I think it would serve no useful purpose, Hastings, and after all, to change her name, it is no crime.
But it must have been she who murdered Paul Renaud.
And the motive, Hastings?
Well, the letter. She said she would kill him rather than lose him.
But that is because you still assume that the BD of the letter refers to Bernadette Dobray. But of that we have no evidence.
But it's the same crime, Poirot, with a fake abduction.
No, mon ami. You forget. It was 10 years ago that Madame Dobray, or Jeanne Baroldi, as she was then called, invented the story of the masked intruders. Now, it is her neighbor, Madame Renaud.
Well, that's true.
There's one other question you should ask yourself, Hastings.
What's that?
What happened to the true killer, Georges Connor?
Pardon, monsieur. There's a young lady in reception asking to see you.
To see me?
Oui, monsieur.
Perhaps it is the young lady of your acquaintance, Hastings.
Oh, you mean?
Ah, yes, of course. Her name, it is still unknown to you.
Yes.
Eh bien, we shall see.
Monsieur Poirot. I hope you'll forgive me coming here. I had to see you.
Mademoiselle. Please.
I'm afraid, Mr. Poirot. Terribly afraid.
Mademoiselle.
That horrible man has just been to see me. Giraud. He's such a bully. He's discovered that Jack was here on the night of the murder.
But if that is the case, mademoiselle, it was most unwise of Monsieur Jacques Renaud to conceal it.
I know, but that doesn't mean... Monsieur Poirot, Giraud is going to arrest him. You can't let him, please. I love him.
Mademoiselle.
He's innocent, Monsieur Poirot. I know he is.
And who do you believe the true killer to be, mademoiselle?
I know who it was.
Tell it to me.
The day before he died, I heard someone in Paul Renaud's garden. I climbed up and looked over the wall, and that was when I saw him.
Who?
A tramp. He was a dreadful-looking creature dressed in rags. Paul Renaud tried to calm him down, but he wouldn't listen. He was demanding money.
And you believe that this was the man?
Jack and his stepfather had their differences, but...
Mademoiselle, if I am to save Monsieur Jacques Renaud, it is necessary that I speak with him without delay.
You're too late. The race, it'll be starting in a few minutes' time.
The race that Giraud mentioned?
He said he was going to be at the finish.
Oui. Mademoiselle, you and your mother will be there?
Yes.
Hastings and I also. Fear not, mademoiselle. All will be well.
Thank you, Mr. Poirot. Thank you.
I wonder if she knows about her mother's true identity.
Oh, she was but 9 years of age at the time, Hastings. It is possible that the truth, it has been shielded from her.
Well, she's certainly in love with Jack Renaud. Should have seen them, Poirot.
Comment, mon ami?
I heard them together. Over the same garden wall, as a matter of fact.
Hastings, you did not mention this to me.
Didn't I? Oh,
But do you not see of it the significance?
Oh, you think Paul Renaud could have overheard them too?
No, no, mon ami. I think the exact opposite. Bonjour, mademoiselle.
Monsieur Poirot.
Mademoiselle, if you please, I wish to see the room of Monsieur Jacques Renaud.
I'm sorry, sir, but Monsieur Renaud is not here.
Mademoiselle Leonie, I am perhaps all that stands between your master and the guillotine. His life, it is in your hands.
À vos marques, prêt.
First his coat, now his shoes. What are you expecting to find?
You remember the two footprints that were inside the grave, Hastings?
Yes.
Voila.
So Jack was there?
Oui, mon ami. And I have no doubt that these will match the cast in the office of Monsieur Pex.
I thought you were trying to save him, not incriminate him.
I'm trying to comprehend him, Hastings.
Oh, I don't understand.
Hastings? You know this girl, Hastings?
No, I've never seen her before.
Oh, there is only the signature. Bella Duveen.
Bella?
Monsieur Poirot?
Where are the cyclists?
They should be here any moment. No sign of Giraud.
Why are you here?
To speak with your son. Congratulations, monsieur. Monsieur Renaud, there are certain questions I must ask you concerning your late stepfather.
What, here, now?
Yes, here and now. Why did you return to Deauville on the night of his death?
I told you.
The truth, monsieur.
I wanted to see someone.
Martha Dobray?
Yes.
And did you see her?
No.
Why not?
Out of the way! Move! Jack Renaud, I'm arresting you for the murder of your stepfather. And also for the murder of your unnamed accomplice. Take him.
Giraud, you've got it all wrong.
Giraud is never wrong. Tell me, Monsieur Renaud, do you deny it?
Tell him, Jack.
No, Monsieur Giraud, I have nothing to say.
You see? You'd come here to arrest him yourself, hadn't you, Poirot?
Well, I beat you. By a whisker.
Bonjour, Monsieur Stoner. If you please, we wish to speak to Madame Renaud.
Come in.
Merci. Madame Renaud, I am here in the interests of your son, Jacques Renaud.
Is there anything you can do for him?
Mais oui. But in order to help him, the events of the night that his stepfather died must come to light.
Of course.
All of them. The real name of your husband, Madame, was not Paul Renaud, but George Connor, was it not?
Yes.
You mean the man wanted 10 years ago for the murder of Honorable Poirot?
My God. And you met him after he has escaped from England to South America?
Yes. But you must believe me, Monsieur Poirot. He wasn't a bad man. That woman used him.
Jeanne Berollet.
Madame Dubray, as she calls herself now. 10 years ago, she told Paul that she was in love with him. But it was all a lie. She wanted her husband's money, and she used Paul to get it.
And she persuaded him to murder her husband?
Yes. Then she laughed at him, told him she wanted nothing more to do with him. And then, when the police discovered the truth, she betrayed him.
This George Connor, he made his fortune in the business of precious stones whilst in Santiago. And it was there that he met you and your son?
Yes, Jack worked for him. That's how we met.
And you married and came to live together here?
How do you know all this, Monsieur Poirot?
The eyes of Hercule Poirot, Madame. They see everything.
Of course, it is my intention to make
10 years after his escape from England, George Connor comes to Deauville. He has made for himself a fortune in Chile, and he now uses this money to establish himself here in France. But somehow, his old lover, Jeanne Baroldi, has managed to track him down, and now calling herself Bernadette Debray, taunts him by taking the very house next door. The money that she has inherited from the murder of her first husband has long ago been spent, but she now sees that her knowledge, it can bring her new fortune. She uses this to blackmail Paul Renault. And then, matters already grave, they are made worse. Jacques Renault falls in love with a beautiful girl he sees almost daily, Martha, the daughter of the woman that Paul Renault hates and fears. Paul observes them together, but he is powerless to prevent the association, and thinks now only of escape.
Yes. Paul was being drained by Madame Debray. Every day was a torment to him. He had to get away.
And the method that worked for him 10 years ago, he decides to put to use again.
Yes. Only this time it would seem that he was the one the intruders had killed. I would move away, and later the two of us would meet and start again.
What about Jack? He didn't know.
I've never told him about Paul's past. I couldn't.
And so the plan, it was made. But then, a few weeks later, a tramp comes to the Villa Genevieve.
That is the way out.
He is violent, abusive, and dangerously ill. They struggle together, and the tramp suffers a seizure that is fatal. If it is to be believed that Paul Renault is dead, then a body, it has to be found. And now, as if by providence, a body, it has been sent in the form of the tramp. Paul dresses the tramp with a suit of his own clothes. But there is worse. To make this deception convincing, the body must look as though it has been murdered most brutally. It is a dreadful deed that to make the semblance of murder.
Sometimes I wish you were dead.
And so to the day itself.
Once in my life I could do as I did.
Jacques, the stepson of Paul Renault, is sent away to Chile, simply to remove him from the scene. In the same manner, Lawrence, the chauffeur, is given a holiday. And so the preparations, they are complete. But Paul Renault, he uses every opportunity. And when he sees me, Hercule Poirot, he decides to draw me into his plan. It is a pretty little charade that he plays at the hotel. He tells to us nothing, only that there is a fraud, and pretends to be afraid. But this is all a performance designed to give credence to his plan. Night falls, and all is in readiness. The maid Leonie is sound asleep. For the cup of cocoa that she takes each night, it has been drugged. And now at last, Paul Renault puts into action his plan, repeating the events of 10 years before. He ensures that the ropes they cut into the wrists of his wife. For this time there must be no mistake. The hour? It is 10 o'clock, and not 2 o'clock, as you later tell me, madame. For Paul Renault intends to leave on the last train from Deauville, which leaves at 7 minutes past 12. He slips on an overcoat, for it is his intention to make his escape dressed in the clothes of the tramp. And then both George Connor and Paul Renault will once again no longer exist. Paul Renault plans to bury the tramp where he is bound to be discovered. The new bunker, it is ideal. He also has with him the pipe made of lead with which he intends to disfigure the face of the dead man. Only then, the justice which he has for so long eluded overtakes him. Fantasy is made reality. An unknown hand stabs him in the back.
So someone learned of the plan to fake his death and used it to kill him.
Oui, mon ami. And if I may say so, madame, when you heard of his death from Monsieur Beck's, your performance, it was superb.
But you weren't convinced?
No. But then when you saw his body in the mortuary...
But it was horrible. Horrible. It shouldn't have been, Paul. It shouldn't.
You have suffered an ordeal, madame. I salute your courage.
My God.
You knew nothing of this, Monsieur Stoner?
No, of course not. Nothing at all.
You never even suspected that your employer, he was in hiding from the British authorities?
No, why should I have?
Monsieur Poirot, I don't care what happens to me. But can you help Jack?
Eh bien, the preliminary hearing, it is set for tomorrow, is it not?
Yes. Giraud is certain that he'll be committed for full trial. But I know that Jack had nothing to do with his stepfather's death.
I do know it, madame. And it is something also I can prove.
How can you prove that Jack didn't murder Paul Renner?
Eh bien, that is simple, mon ami. On that night, there was a witness who has yet to come forward.
Who?
Hastings, it is for you a dilemma, is it not? You search for the truth, and yet of it you are always afraid.
What do you mean?
I speak of Mademoiselle Belle Duvine, mon ami. You can protect her no longer. I must speak with her at once.
Her name isn't Bella, it's Isabel.
Isabel to you, mon ami, but Belle Duvine to Jacques Renaud. Remember the BD that we found in the letter?
That letter was written to Paul Renner.
No, Hastings. It was addressed to my dearest one. Why do you assume it was his?
It was in his coat pocket.
It was in the pocket of the coat he was wearing, but that coat, it was not his. Do you not see, Hastings? When Jacques Renaud, he left for Cherbourg, by accident, he took the coat of his stepfather.
And so that night...
Exactement. Paul Renaud, he was wearing the coat of his stepson.
So Isabel was in love with Jack Renner.
Oui. Why have you been torturing yourself, mon ami? The photograph you have not seen, the name you do not know? Why must you protect this girl?
I don't know. I suppose I've fallen in love with her.
Then for you, mon ami, I am most sad. Bonjour, madame. Mademoiselle Belle Duvine, s'il vous plaît.
Miss Duvine? Why do you want her?
She is required most urgently in a court of law, madame. It is her testimony that will establish the innocence of a young man.
Well, I'm sorry she's not here.
What?
She went out yesterday and did not return.
Oh.
Ah, Poirot. There's something you owe me, I think.
The game is not over yet, Monsieur Giraud.
No?
No. The judge has still to make his recommendations.
Hanging on to the bitter end, eh, Poirot? Well, I can wait.
La cour! La cour! Première audience sur l'affaire Jacques Renaud.
I have examined the papers set before me by lawyers for the prosecution and defense, and I have just a few questions I wish to ask. Monsieur Renaud, do you deny that you were in Deauville on the night of the crime?
No, I was here.
And did you say to your stepfather that same day, I wish you were dead, then I could do as I pleased?
Your Honor, my client has been under considerable nervous strain. I wish to place it on record.
Yes, Mr. Crozier. Do you understand, Monsieur Renaud, that on the answers you have given me, I have no alternative but to commit you for trial?
Yes.
Very well then.
Isabel.
My name is Bella Duveen. I wish to give myself up for the murder of Paul Renaud.
Emmenez-la! You knew about this. You tricked me.
So, Mr. Poirot, we meet at last. Isn't that what I meant to say?
Mademoiselle Duveen, why did you murder Monsieur Paul Renaud?
Why do you think?
I think it was because you were in love with his stepson, Jacques Renaud.
Yes.
But he had left you for Martha Debray, and it was Jacques Renaud that you threatened to kill in your letter.
You got the wrong man. You thought Paul Renaud was his stepson. It was dark, and he was wearing the wrong coat.
I don't want to talk about it.
Then tell me, Mademoiselle Duveen, why did you take the knife from the office of Monsieur Bex?
To protect myself.
And this knife, it was yours?
Yes.
Merci, Mademoiselle Duveen.
Poirot.
I shall be outside.
I owe you an apology.
No.
Yes. I saw you at your hotel.
You recognized Poirot.
Yes. That's when I decided to use you. To find out what you knew. But the things I said, Arthur, I wasn't just pretending.
You said you were in love with Jacques Renaud.
I was. Once.
And now?
Just forget about me, Arthur. You're a kind man. If only we had met before. Maybe.
Some of that, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to propose a toast to freedom.
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 And to us, Jack.
To a new life together.
The wedding, it is to be soon, Monsieur Renaud?
Ah, yes. We want to put this very much behind us.
Start again.
Bella, I treated her shamefully, Mr. Poirot.
At least that awful Giraud lost his wager with you, Monsieur Poirot.
Oui, but it is a wager the Poirot has yet to win.
Out of my way! Let me through!
Ah non. Écoutez.
How can you, Jack? How can you celebrate?
Mother.
You may be free, but Paul's death is on your hands.
That's not fair.
Sit down, Mother.
No, Jack. You never understood him. You defied him, mistrusted him. And by your heartless treatment of another woman, you killed him.
I didn't.
Well, you'll never have his money. Tomorrow I intend to take steps to disinherit you. And that girl.
Mother.
You're no son of mine. Take me home, Leonie.
Jack, she didn't know what she was saying.
She did.
Jack, darling, you can stay with us tonight.
Yes, I think that would be best.
Poirot, I wish you'd explain to me what we're doing here.
We're watching the house, mon ami.
Well, I know that, but why? There's only Madame Renaud in there. Who was that?
It was the true killer of Monsieur Paul Renaud.
What? But Isabel...
No, Hastings. Bella Devine was not the killer of Paul Renaud.
Well, then who was?
The gun. It was not according to my plan. Allons-y, vite! This way, Hastings. The bear of Madame Renaud, c'est pas ici.
She came just as you said she would, Monsieur Poirot. She tried to smother me.
I was waiting just like you told me to, but when she saw me, she took out a gun. There was a struggle and it went off. I'm afraid she's dead.
Who is it, Poirot?
The true killer of Paul Renaud, mon ami. Martha Debray.
No, you cannot arrest me. I have done nothing.
Madame Debray, you are being held as an accomplice to murder.
No, I need to speak to Martha. Where is Martha?
This crime? Ah, yes. Merci beaucoup. It has indeed challenged the little grey cells of Hercule Poirot to the extreme. And yet from the start I knew that this was a crime of the cold blood. And so it was. Martha Debray knew of the plans of Monsieur Paul Renaud to create his fake death. And with great cunning she set out to use those plans for the purposes of her own.
But, Monsieur Poirot, how could she have known? We told no one.
So you believed, madame. But when you made the plans, it was by the garden wall, was it not?
Yes. Paul and I, we did talk there.
I'll dig the grave at 10 o'clock. I'll be on the train out of here 7 minutes past 12. You'll have to identify the body.
It won't be pleasant, but you'll have to be convincing.
I'll do my best. If it's really the only way to rid you of Bernadette Debray forever, then so be it.
And that was how Martha Debray she overheard. Later, Hastings would hear Martha talking with Jack over the same wall. And that is what alerted me to the possibility.
Will be dead.
Why did she do it?
Always it was for money. Monsieur Paul Renault planned to escape from the blackmail of Madame d'Aubray by pretending to be dead. But what if he were really dead? What would happen then?
Paul's money would come to me.
Exactement. But what if a short while later you were also to die, madame?
Jack would have everything.
And Martha would have Jacques Renault. But this marriage, it could only take place if Paul Renault no longer stood in the way. Oh yes, Martha and her mother certainly planned for the long term. However, last night they discovered that Madame Renault intended to change her will. And that forced them to act at once.
My God, what devils.
Why? Alors, Madame Renault played the part I suggested to her. And that was to force the hand of Madame d'Aubray.
Oh, Bella. Will you ever forgive me?
Yes, Jack. Of course.
But this is what I don't understand, Monsieur Poirot. So these two were protecting each other?
Oui, Monsieur Bex. Never before have I seen so many misconceptions, and that was because each thought the other guilty of the murder.
But why?
Let me describe it to you as I see it. On the night of the murder, Jacques Renault returns from Cherbourg. He plans to visit Martha d'Aubray in secrecy, but he is seen by the station master. Meanwhile, Mademoiselle Bellodovine, tortured by her love for Jacques Renault, decides to visit him one last time to plead with him, unaware that he's supposed to have departed for Santiago. Per route, it will take her across the Gulf links. In the meantime, Monsieur Paul Renault has completed his task and is now ready to recover the body of the tramp which lies nearby in the shed with a knife he has placed in the chest. He plans, of course, to bury the tramp in the grave. And that is when Martha d'Aubray strikes. However, at this moment, a figure approaches. Martha d'Aubray flees from the scene. The route of Monsieur Jacques Renault, it has taken him also across the Gulf links, where he makes a discovery most terrible. The body of his stepfather. Can it be true? He climbs into the grave. Just as Mademoiselle Bellodovine arrives, cutting her hand and tearing her sleeve on some sharp briars which are near to the site of the new bunker. And so, to the moment of truth. Jacques Renault looks up, and what does he see? Mademoiselle Bellodovine with blood on her clothes. It must be the blood of his stepfather, of that he is sure. She has mistaken the coat and has killed the wrong man. And Mademoiselle Bellodovine, she sees Jacques Renault in the grave with the body of his stepfather. What is she to believe? And from that moment, each thought the other the perpetrator of the crime. And that, Monsieur Bex, is why they were protecting each other.
It's true, that's how it happened.
But what about the knife? Why take the knife from my office?
Mademoiselle?
I thought it was Jack's. You see, he had given me one that was exactly the same.
It's true. I had them made when I was working for my stepfather. The sapphires were from Santiago. They were souvenirs of my time there.
Exactement. But, Monsieur Renault, there were more than two knives, were there not? Oh, yes. 3 sapphires and 3 knives. The first knife you gave to your mother. This was the knife that was used by Paul Renault by plunging it in the chest of the dead tramp. The second knife you gave to Mademoiselle Belle Duvine. But this knife, it played no part in the events that followed. Because it was the third knife that Mademoiselle Belle Duvine took from the office of Monsieur Bex. This was the knife that was used to kill Monsieur Paul Renault. Tell me, Monsieur Jacques, this third knife, to whom did it belong?
I gave the third knife to Martha de Bray.
Excuse me? Entrez.
Monsieur Poirot?
Monsieur Giraud?
This is yours, I think.
No, monsieur. You may keep your pipe. But from this moment, each time that you light it, you will think of Hercule Poirot.
Yes, I will.
Actually, Poirot, I thought I might stay out here a little while longer.
But of course, Hastings, you wish to improve your disability on the limbs.
What? Oh, my handicap. No, it's not that. I just don't feel ready to come home yet.
You speak of Mademoiselle Duvine.
A girl who could do what she did for Jack Renault. She must really love him.
And yet, Hastings, there are men who do not deserve such love from a woman. And then, return home only when you are ready, mon ami. Until then, au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir, monsieur. Merci. If you please, monsieur, I wish to make the little detour.
Bien, monsieur.
Thank you.